Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to do a quick flip through my finished 2021 Project Life album. This is the 9th album that I've done for Project Life. I'm super pleased to have it finished, and I love doing these flip throughs with you so that I get to have a look back at the year that was as well. This year I had my album was a 12 by 12 We Are Memory Keepers gold album. I think 2 or 3 years ago I bought a bunch of them, so this is the 6th album I've had in this gold album. I can't find a reasonably priced one for 2022, so I've got something different on the way. So this is the last of my gold albums. 2022 is going to be my 10th year of Project Life, so I figured now's a good time to change things up. So I'm going to apologize in advance for any glare. It's a bit of an overcast day here today, so I've had to put the lights on. Project Life is obviously a pocket page project, and there are 52 weeks in here, so I cannot take all of the cards out to show you, so I apologize in advance. I'm going to do the best I can. So this was week 1, and this was a stash week. There are more stash weeks in here, I think, than anything else, really. Stash weeks and Citrus Twist in here was sort of the majority of 2021. I used circles as a theme this week, probably literally because of the one circle in one of my photos in here. Actually, there's 2, so that's probably why I've picked circles to kind of carry on the theme. I don't use circles a lot, but actually now I see it here, I really love it. And so you'll see when I get to week 52, I love that the colors for week 1 are pretty reflective of my colors for week 52, bookmarking the ends of this year. Just going to flip these over like this so you can see. Week 2 here, this is a Rosie Studio collection I used. I think it's called Lucky Us or Lucky Me. Pretty bright and cheerful because week 2 is my nephew Jack's birthday. Look at that face. So this whole collection went perfectly with that. Lots of simple kind of shapes, hearts and circles. I had just got the collection, so I had all of the stickers and whatnot. Again, another pretty colorful week. And then back to neutrals for week 3, which I really love. I always say that the neutral weeks I find a little bit more difficult to kind of work with. They're not, I guess, in my wheelhouse as much, but I always end up loving them like just as much as I love the colorful weeks. So I guess that's something I need to work on. This one here is just another stash week, so I love that I've managed to pick out some more of this kind of neutral patterns from my stash. Week 4, and these are just, I guess it's a stash week, but these were like digital files that I've used in here. I think I've used a whole bunch of ones. There are Love Life paper, I think Printables from her Patreon. There also looks like some Studio Calico stuff in here. Just a really simple week. Week 5, another stash week, which I love. I love that there's so many stash weeks in here. And I love these kind of more simple weeks as well. I always struggle to kind of peel things back and keep it simple, but I love the effect of it so much more when it is just a little bit more on the, I don't want to say plain, but you know, just on the plainer side of things. Lots of stamps, lots of photos, lots of pretty patterns. That's really all you need. And then I go totally the opposite. Week 6. It's another stash week. I used Sunny Days for this one. I know that I was trying to use up a little bit more of this collection. I didn't have any E's left, so this was kind of a super kind of solution to that. It still looks like E's, but you can see those are F's. So that was a neat little trick. This was a fun, colorful, summery week. Week 7, and I think this is just another kind of stash week. It might have been for Citrus Twist. I was using the Garden Party add-on. It's like one of my favorites. It's so pretty. Trying to use a little bit more of this kind of citrony yellow color. And I did end up using quite a lot of it this year, which is sort of surprising to me. Week 8 and the first week of mucking up the week numbers. This happened a lot. It happened a lot last year, and it was just kind of one of those things. We were celebrating our 7th wedding anniversary, and I think I just had 7s in mind, so I ended up with a 7 up there, and I just re-stamped the number on a piece of vellum and stapled it over the top. You can still see the 7 underneath. I just lived with it. Look, there's another 7 down here. So that's why that happened. I had 7 on the brain. Week 9 was another little stash week. I think using up some of my like de-stashed things. So trying to use up some of these like cork pieces, cards that I had sort of cut apart to use the sentiment instead of using the whole card. It really has been a theme in 2021, trying to use up some of the stash that I've got, and it's going to be a theme in 2022 as well. I don't subscribe to any kits anymore. I get kits through being a design team member for Citrus Twist, but I'm really trying to like cut back on spending on crafty supplies and just try to use what I have. So this is good to see that I did get some. I got a lot of stash used in 2021. I still have more than enough to use for 2022 as well. So week 10 kind of has a little bit of an add-on to it here because we sort of had a little bit of an adventure, and it was not going to fit on my regular kind of week. So this was just another stash kit week as well. But then I added on this little 6x12 insert to the side of it. This was just a regular 12x12 page protector, and I've literally just cut it down the middle to get me the 6x12. And I just made sure that when it was flipped over, it still worked nicely with the page that was underneath it. This was a process video that I did with my patrons. I didn't do a whole lot of 12x12 layouts in 2021, and so I don't have a separate album for them. The few that I have done have just got tucked into my Project Life album, and it's not incredibly chunky. I do try to keep Project Life a little bit on the flatter side, and so everything has still fit into the one album. This was a little layout I did about a rainbow I saw when I was on my walk with Lil. This is again using that Rosie Studios, I'm sure it's Lucky Us collection. This one here is a little bit chunkier though, so it keeps wanting to like pop out of the actual page protector. It has some very 3D kind of folded rainbow, I don't know what you want to call them, folded rainbow kind of embellishments inspired by Paper Buttons Loves. So there's 3 of them in here. This was, we must be into February because it was a bit of a stash month. I did a challenge on my Patreon to use as much of my kind of stash kit as I could, and that may well have been the end of it there. So week 11 is another stash week, which I love. I used a bunch of cards from scrapbook.com and kind of altered them to fit. Like, they weren't cards that I was necessarily going to use, but I quite liked the kind of sentiments on them, so I have altered those to fit into this week. And then week 12, there's another kind of, I think it's a Citrus Twist week, but I have used a bunch of printables in here, so the cards are printables, and I did use a photo enlargement. There are a few weeks in here. I think my photo taking really suffered in 2021, and so there's lots of weeks where I barely had enough photos to fill the page, so enlargements became a little bit of a theme here. Week 13, another stash week, using heaps of stamps, lots of Kelly stamps, lots of Citrus Twist stamps throughout here. And I am using some more of those scrapbook.com cards in this one as well. Week 14, and this was one of my favorite Rosie Studios collections from 2021. It's called Rare and Beautiful. They asked me to be a guest designer for that collection, so this was one of the projects that I did with that collection. Week 15, another stash kit, another photo enlargement, even less photos on this one. It was just one of those ups and down kind of weeks, which I have no issue adding into my album. Week 16 looking decidedly cheerier thanks to a citrus twist kit, adding in a bunch of yellow. This was sort of the end of April as we're like heading into winter, well heading into autumn at least anyway, autumn, winter, and it's getting darker, and so I love adding a little bit of colour into those kind of weeks. This is another 12 by 12 layout, which was a super simple one to put together, just using a bunch of alphas in here. This was another stash, sort of stash challenge layout to use up some of those finished alphas. Not too many E's in that quote there, but I still had to be super careful about how many I was actually going to put in there. I think this was from my my no pink kit, so this was some of the leftover pieces from that particular kit. And another 12 by 12 using that Rare and Beautiful collection from Rosie Studios. Super hard to see, but I spent a long time stitching the background for it not to even show up on the page. You can hardly see it there, but there's a lot of stitching on there. I love the texture in real life, but to be honest, I wish I'd used like a darker thread so you could actually see it. This is week 17 and another stash week. I can always tell when I'm heading into winter and I start trying to pack in as much colour as I can into these project life spreads. It just makes winter seem a little bit less awful. And week 18 is another stash week as well. And actually, I didn't think I had as many stash weeks as I have, so I'm super glad to see that, because I think 2022 is going to be like this as well. So it's nice to see that, like, you don't have to have a subscription, you don't have to get kits every month to still be able to put together a week of project life. This was week 19, and I've done week in the life. I did take all of the photos for week in the life. I've just never put together an album, so instead what I did was just pick out one photo from each day and pop them into just my regular project life album. So my thinking at the time was that I may or may not go back and do an album. I never did, so this is kind of nice that even though I took all those photos and didn't do an album, I still managed to get them in here somehow. So I just marked them by making sure that I had the like little journaling pieces that matched the photos. So I've got a double-sided page protector for this one. So there's 3 days on the first side and 4 days on the second. I just used all of my stash stuff. Again, I didn't have a kit or anything like that. The only difference between this and a regular week of project life is that there's far more photos and far more stories. Another 12 by 12. This was just a challenge from my patrons. It says roll on summer, but this is definitely not a summer page. It was literally just a throwback to summer page. So I was being challenged to use some things that I wouldn't normally have used. And I figured that since so much of it was the Sunny Days collection, that I would do a throwback photo to summer. And then my other 12 by 12 on the other side was a stamp challenge, again for my patrons, trying to make some smaller stamp sets work on a 12 by 12 page. Week 20 and another stash week, surprise, surprise. This was, again, I think from my no pink challenge. So here the only difference is I had a pretty big story for this one because we had a visit from Jack, and so I did a little acetate sort of flip up. Luckily this was on the front of the page protector so that I could add my story in underneath. I used acetate so that you could actually see that there was something underneath there ready to flip up. And then week 21 is a citrus twist week. I just love their giant tags. I'm usually putting them in the Life Crafted albums, but I wanted to see if I could find a way to work them into Project Life as well, which I can. They're the perfect size to just trim down a little bit and turn into 4x6 cards. This was my birthday week, so I turned 40, so there was a lot of partying going on previous to this week, and so this one I kept pretty simple, just a lot of stamps and my favorite little black foam alphas. Week 22, and I had shouted myself a kit from Studio Calico, so that had finally arrived. I did buy that a couple of months before my birthday as a birthday surprise. Well, a birthday treat anyway. It finally arrived after that, so I got to use it for this particular week here. I also added in some, I think it was the Stamp Market, this rainbow washi tape. It's my favorite. This one I'm definitely hoarding because it is so pretty. Week 23, a Pink Fresh Studios week. I had got a bunch of new Pink Fresh supplies. I can't remember the exact collection. I got two, and so I used them on this one here. It's one of my favorite patterns. Like, I love the colors so much. This is a really fun page. Again, it's like a wintry page. I can see the difference, like when I do a page like this, like super neutral, and it works with the photos, but I just love a bright and colorful page. Week 24 was a little bit of a stash kit. I know that my friend Alice had sent me a bunch of Inner Creative Bubble printables, which she very kindly already printed and sent me the hard copies of, so that was an even nicer surprise. So I've got a bunch of that and some other pretty papers that she had sent me as well, and all I've done is add some stamps and some alphas and called this one done. And week 25 was a citrus twist kit. I loved the colors in here. There were a bunch of Pink Fresh Studio things in here as well as some of their printable papers, which I've used a lot of this year. Well, I say this year, I mean in 2021, I used a bunch of their printables. Super easy. I love using printables because you do not have to wait for shipping, nor do you have to pay for shipping. So it's a win-win for me. Week 26, and we're truly in the depths of winter here. This is a Pink Fresh Studio kind of stash week. Again, kind of citrus twist stash. Lots of alphas, lots of stamps. I did something a little bit different and added 3 photos of our snow day in here. Just made a little photo collage. I still got the giant enlargement though because I didn't have a whole lot of photos this week. Week 27, and we're halfway now. This is another Studio Calico week. I did end up getting 2 kits from Studio Calico, so I can't remember which one was which, but they were like April and May, I think. So this was another one of those had arrived. It had these tiny little star stamps in it. Loved it. So lots of pink in this one. And then week 28, another stash kit, and back to a little bit more kind of neutrals. When I bought that Studio Calico kit, I also bought a couple of the packs of their cards, just the cards, not the actual kits. And one of those card sets were a little bit more neutral. I think they were an older one from like November or something. So they're a little bit more neutral, a little bit more wintry themed. So this one works perfectly for the end of July. And week 29 is actually another kind of longer week because we had another sort of adventure. So I've done exactly the same thing here. I've created a 6x12 insert. It just gives me a space to do like the extra photos, but I like how it sits nicely in here. It's still relatable to that actual week. And again, this was another insert that I did with my patrons. Week 30 was a citrus twist week, and I may or may not have decided to have tacos for tea. purely so that I could use the Inhaled Tacos die cut. This was a really cute kind of collection kit that they put together. I've still used a lot of digitals in here, but I've got chipboard, I've got die cuts, I've got puffy stickers, so kind of all of those additional little extras. I've also used a bunch of Nuvo drops on here, which I hardly ever use, but these ones are kind of a pretty pink glittery color, so they just worked nicely with this because I didn't have any kind of enamel dots or anything this week. Week 31, and I was trying to use a little bit less pink, a little bit more green. I did a huge photo enlargement from when I got my first shot of vaccine, and they have kind of like, I don't know, it looks like carpet, but it's fake grass. They had set up this room for the vaccination center, and it kind of had fake grass in there, so there's a very large amount of green on this page. So I did try to tone that in with this another printable. So these were from Citrus Twist again, a few more printable cards, just trying to tone back the pink a little bit. Week 32 was another stash kit. All sorts of stuff in here, but I know that I pulled out some Pink Fresh Studio stuff as well that I had lying around in my stash. And I have used this week stamp set from Citrus Twist an awful lot. It's one of my favorites, but this was a super fun way. The pattern on the paper had this white portion on it, and I decided to mask that off and stamp in between there. And it's a fun little technique I haven't done again, but I think I've been having it in my mind to do it soon, I think. Week 32 was another stash week, using a whole lot of stamping in here. So this is the Heritage collection, which was in my stash, but I haven't used a whole lot apart from the papers. I've got a few little stickers, and I've mostly stuck to stamping, which I love. Again, back to these really simple techniques, which they just always have my heart, really. This is a fun technique, though, the ombre kind of repeat stamping. I've done it in traveler's notebooks, so I decided to do it in Project Life as well. Week 34, another kind of stash week. I've got printables from Citrus Twist. I've got my little favorite washi tape again. I've also got some bits and pieces from a Heidi swap kit that I grabbed. These little circle, the other side of the circle says note to self, but I just flipped them around so that I could use those circles as a repetition on this page, and a whole kind of neutral scheme with little pops of pink, and I really enjoyed it. Week 35 ended up being another Pink Fresh Studio week. This is the Best Day collection. I really loved it. It was so pretty. The colors were so pretty. So this was another really simple page, another big photo enlargement. So there was obviously not a lot of photo taking going on. It was the start of spring, so I had my daffs out, and this collection just really worked so nicely with that. And look at me using all of this green in here. Week 36, fully into these springy kind of colors now, yellow and orange, or sort of peachy colored. These were just based off my photos, so a lot of the times the color schemes or the things that I use each week are just because they're a kit or a stash kit or whatever that I've put together and I like the look of it. But a lot of times I take my color schemes based off what's on this actual page. So I had this huge photo of an Aperol Spritz cocktail that we had made. I rescued a bunch of daffodils from a storm, so there's lots of pops of yellow and orange on here. There's even some teal in the photos there, so it's just about bringing out those colors and helping to enhance those photos. Week 37 was another kind of stash kit. I think I used one of my Citrus Twist mega kits in here, keeping things really simple because I'd had a little bit of a, I'd had a massive rejig of my craft space in here, so I was incredibly tired and incredibly time poor from that. Thought it would be a super quick job, and it ended up taking me an entire week to get it done. So then I kept everything simple for Project Life, and I win back my time again. Week 38, stash kit. This is some Heidi Swap Color Fresh. one of my favorite collections. I'm just about out of all of it, but another really simple week to put together. Another huge photo enlargement here. I do that a lot when I don't have a lot of photos, but also when I have too many photos. So again, this was another week that we had a visit from Jack, and so there were a lot of photos being taken, and rather than try to cram them all onto one page of Project Life, I tend to do something like this, or I put together a little collage or whatnot, because I know I'm going to use those photos elsewhere as well. So it doesn't really worry me if I don't get all of the photos onto a Project Life week. It's more about kind of editing the highlights, I guess. Week 39, and this was another Studio Calico kit. Again, I guess trying to tone down some pink and just use the bits and pieces that were actually in the kit. So it's more of a peachy color. This was sort of the beginning of October. I didn't go too particularly like October themed with my October Project Life pages. I kept everything October-y themed in my actual October album. Week 40, and this is another Citrus Twist kit week, so lots of printables. I changed a few of the printables in here to kind of suit my page. I've got another huge big enlargement there, this time in black and white. Black and white is my favorite fix for photos that just aren't quite that good. So if you've taken a quick snap or the lighting's not great, black and white fixes a multitude of sins. And I've done the same thing for week 41. So this is another Citrus Twist. So you can see how I've altered the card here. The striped card is a 3x4 in week 41, but it's a 4x6 in week 40. So it's just another advantage with digitals. You get to sort of change and alter them to how you need them to fit your week. Week 42 is another Citrus Twist week. This was from the Flea Market Findings kit, which I just love. I'm still using. It's still available in their shop. It's a massive kit. I doubt I'm even halfway through it, to be honest. It was really fun if you like that kind of shabby chic, vintagey kind of vibes. It's definitely one of my favorites from 2021. Week 43, another kind of stash kit. This was about as Halloween-y as it got. Just trying to use up some sort of pinker elements on here because I had another huge, really kind of dark photo on here. So balancing that out with some other bright pops of pink. Week 44, and this was using the Rosie Studios by Starlight collection. Again, I was really lucky to be asked to be guest designer for that collection, and I just really put a simple page together for Project Life. So simple with their like sticker packs and those huge packs of embellishments that they have. They work perfectly for Project Life because they're always a little bit smaller than, say, like a crepe paper embellishment pack, which are always a little bit larger. I feel like they're geared a bit more towards 12 by 12 pages rather than Project Life cards. Week 45, this is a Citrus Twist week as well. Again, a lot more digitals on here. I loved the digitals from this collection. It was a really simple page to put together, just using a few die cuts and some of those digital papers. This one here I printed like 100 times for so many different reasons. So this was a fun week to put together. Lots of blues on here, and there haven't been like a whole lot of blues in this album. Week 46 was another stash kit. I used one of those Citrus Twist mega kits for this one. I love those mega kits because they're just using up the stash that I've got, but I do find them a little bit harder to work with just because they are so huge, and so putting together a simple page, I feel like it's just a little bit harder. I've had 3 or 4 like mega kits, I think, which I have now combined into one, so I've only got one mega kit to go. Like, I feel like that's a good achievement to have used that much of them. week 47, and I had combined those two Studio Calico kits that I got into one, so I was just using up a whole lot more of those pieces. Lots of bright pops of color. I tried to stop myself from hoarding these little chipboard hearts and actually use them, so there's quite a few on this page, but those were one of those things from these kits that I was just, I don't know, I just couldn't bring myself to use until now. Week 48 was super simple. I still had a bunch of Christmas stuff out on my desk, so I used them for the very first week of December. It was one of those weeks that was sort of a little bit up and down, so instead of focusing on the whole week, I really just told two stories from that week. So one was our not so good day, and one was a very merry day. So I've just used those two stories as kind of like a compare and contrast from the week, rather than doing 100 different photos. Week 49, there was no process video for here on YouTube. I did this over with my patrons after I put together a few little Project Life kits. So this was one of them that I had put together from my stash. A little bit more of a neutral kit, which again I always say I struggle with, but then like I love how it comes together, just a little bit different. There's a bunch of Heidi swap stuff in here. It's just a fun, kind of calm week before I go all out with a bunch of color from Citrus Twist. So there are some digitals in here because I haven't never got my design team package in time for this, but I've got a bunch of puffy stickers, which I just adore. Some die cuts. I've used a collage photo and like another one of my favorite patterns. Week 51, I used the Reaching Out project pad, which was a little bit more of a challenge given that it's not really designed for Project Life. And it's one of those weeks I'm a little bit sort of about. It's not my favorite, it's not my worst, it just is what it is, and I have no problem having these pages in here. And then last but by no means least, week 52, this is what I mean about like bookending this album with bright colors, pinks, citron greens, teals, all of the good things. I'm just so pleased to have another album done and in the shelf. I can move on to my 2022 album. Now just to note, this, because of a few pages that happened in here, I don't have a title page. I also don't have an end page. I don't intend to fill it in with anything. It's just going to be what it is. I just wanted this album to be done. Hey, thanks for coming along on this Project Life journey with me. As always, guys, this is my favorite project. Like, this is my 10th year doing it. I definitely do not have any other projects that I love as much as this one. So whether you are just starting out on a Project Life or whether you're a long timer like I am, my biggest advice for Project Life is just to make it doable for you. I do one 12 by 12 page a week. I get it done each week. And it's achievable. It's an achievable kind of project. Hey, thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.